All right. So going into tonight, obviously the Lakers had to stay in Houston after having a pretty much a dominating fourth quarter. Well, offensively it wasn't that great, but they played really well defensively. But to turn around and come out the way they did in the first half, battle in the third quarter, which was obviously a difficult quarter for them. KD came alive, and then finish off in the fourth because they are the number one clutch team in the NBA. What were your thoughts on the game, Eric?
Such a good point. Yeah, they have proved this year so far, at least, that as long as they can stay in a tight game in the fourth, they've been able to close teams out, and that's something you really can kind of carry with you to the playoffs. So that's obviously pretty awesome for them. And so, yeah, I mean, these back-to-backs that the NBA has been doing a little bit more to kind of limit travel a little bit. Typically, you kind of look at it and you're like, let's just get a split in terms of like the road team. Then Lakers win the first game, and you're like, man, this next game tonight is actually pretty big because it's technically like a 2-game swing versus a 1. Because now, as you mentioned, they do have a tiebreaker over Houston. So obviously Lakers were up 1 game. If Houston would have won, it would have been tied. Now they're up 2 games in the loss column. And so now it's Houston's got to get ahead of them. So it's technically 3 games. So yeah, it was a good matchup, obviously, tonight. LeBron, freaking James, which I know we're going to get into. You got some stats for us, but he was obviously uber efficient tonight, to say the least.
Yeah, and I like how you bring up that, this is kind of like a, 2 home games, right? So both teams don't travel.
Yep.
And who does that benefit the most, Eric? LeBron James. Like, when you think about allowing him to rest a little bit where they're not traveling, you're not dealing with all the compression in the airplane. Obviously the guy's got to have a lot of swelling, arthritis, pain in general. So this was like the best thing that could have happened to him. And he started this game 8 for 8 in the first half. He had at least 3 dunks that I saw. That were super powerful, explosive ones, catching lobs. He looked like 5 years ago LeBron, 10 years ago LeBron. But he is playing some of the most efficient ball of his career. So when you look at the past, I don't know, what are we on, 7 games or so, he has shot 15 or below field goal attempts. He actually, the past it's 8 now, right? The past 3 games before the games tonight, he was 7 for 13 exactly for 3 games in a row. I mean, come on, how can that even happen? So he's playing some efficient basketball. JJ Redick talked about how essentially they're conserving his energy, him being a third option. He still had 30 tonight. It's still LeBron freaking James. Like, we know that he can do that. He just doesn't have to do that every night. And when we get something like this, it's a treat. And you got Luka, who's in his bag, who we haven't even got to yet, we have to get to. What do you think about this efficient version of LeBron James?
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback on our last conversation on Monday, where he's kind of a clear-cut number 3. It's allowing him to reserve some gas, if you will. I think he's a little bit more active on the defensive end, and it allows for games like this where not any travel. And I think it obviously, on the flip side, it could probably help a guy like Kevin Durant too, which 1 point is crazy. So they played their first game against each other 18 years and like 4 months ago. So it's pretty remarkable.
Wow.
18 years. These guys are still kind of out there battling.
Crazy.
Being like 1 or 2 top or 3, I guess, top players on their teams. Pretty remarkable. But yeah, what LeBron again continues to do. You had mentioned like 8 straight games of 15 or less shots, and he hadn't gone more than 4 games straight of that ever in his career.
His whole career.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I think it's just solidifying what we've been talking about. The eye test shows, the stats show that, he's kind of taking this role. Yeah. He was technically, I guess, number 2 today. Austin Reeves didn't play that great. But, they needed all of LeBron's points, obviously, tonight.
Yeah, I mean, 13 of 14 at 41 years old with a lot of those buckets being dunks is just outrageous. It needs to be studied. I mean, we're going to be talking about this 10 years from now and thinking about how well he's playing in his 23rd season. I mean, like we always say, we're never going to see a player like this. I'm sure somebody will come along. Like, obviously, Victor Wembanyama is going to be super special. He's an alien. He's a freak. But what LeBron James is doing in this part of his career is just insane.
Yeah. I mean, we can go on and talk about it the rest of this show. Obviously, this year we've had our ups and downs in terms of our conversations about him. But that's just kind of the ebbs and flows of the season and ebbs and flows. But it's at this point, the way it's looking, we can't knock the guy. So, we'll see what obviously happens going forward. But obviously, a great night from LeBron tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Now, let's get into the sneaky MVP, Luka Doncic, who is in his bag right now.
Yeah.
Is absolutely doing what, like, when you think of like this version of Luka, it's like playoff Luka, right? Like he's getting motivation from the crowd. He's looking at the crowd on every play. What was that one play in the first half where literally he got the steal, stared at the guy, and then started dribbling up the court, right? And then he goes and hits a three, points at him the rest of the way. And like for the rest of the game, he would continue to look towards that direction. He hit a three, look towards that direction. So whoever was courtside, thank you, Mr. Houston Rockets fan or Mrs. Houston Rockets fan, for pissing off Luka and letting him go to work tonight, because he dropped a 40-piece and he is solidifying his case to be in the running for MVP.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was he was definitely chirping at the fan. I remember, I could think of the last time was like that. Remember they played OKC twice last year towards the end of the season, and he was chirping at that fan, but he ended up getting kicked out because like the ref thought that he was talking to him. And so I kind of was like, wait, let's not, hopefully don't see a repeat of that. But yeah, I think he's just like, I think he's been pretty consistent this year. I think there's been like a little bit, unfortunately for him, a little bit of like a narrative around like the defense and just his complaining about calls and stuff. And him being on the Lakers, I mean, like I'll be honest, I think there's a lot of like haters out there in terms of like the voters and things like that, or the media. And so I think it's like done a disservice for him. He's like, because like in most cases, if somebody's had a year like he's had, top 3 seed in like a tough ass conference, I don't want to say no brainer because there's SGA, there's Joker, there's some obviously really good players, but I feel like he should really be more so up there. I mean, there was conversations all day today about him not being first team All NBA.
Oh, stop.
And I think that would be a slap in the face. Yeah, all those Stephen A.
What SGA and him are the guards. And
well, I guess it's positionless.
It's positionless, but who else are you putting in there?
So it was Wemby, it was Brown.
Okay.
It was SGA.
Okay.
It was Joker.
And Luka.
And
I mean,
I know. I agree. It should be Luka. Wemby. Did I say Wemby? Wemby, Joker.
Yeah, you said Wemby. Unless they're putting Cade. Unless you're putting Cade ahead.
But you got to find. Look, it's tough this year. I'm not gonna just say that those 5 guys are not deserving after what Brown's done all year.
Sure,
all those guys, but you cannot keep Luka out, right? I mean, who is the odd man out there in your opinion?
Well, let me ask you this: if right now you had to say your top 3 players for MVP are who?
I'd have to say SGA, Joker, and Luka.
You're putting Joker over Luka?
No, not in a particular order. I'm now that the Lakers, because the standings, they do matter. And so if the Lakers finish ahead and they finish at the top 3, we talked about that at the beginning of the season. For him to even have a chance at MVP, they're going to have a top seed. Yeah. And it's looking like they perhaps will. And so if it ends like this, yes, I have to put him there. I'm not sure if that's how it'll end up, but I think he's like slowly climbing. And if a couple of those guys miss some games or something, you never know. He may get it.
Yeah, I just think that if you are a top 3 MVP vote getter, you are all NBA first team. There's no other option. Like you're not putting people ahead of him with that. And like you said, the Lakers finished top 3 and Joker's at 6 or something like that, or 5. I just don't see how you put him ahead of him, especially when Luka's leading the league in scoring, number 1, and he's averaging like 9 and 8 on top of that with the rebounds and assists. So he's having a hell of a year. Obviously SGA is all worldly and still got the number 1 seed. OKC is still on top. Yeah. I think Cade has fallen down in the MVP rankings based on how they've been playing recently and kind of losing that steam, being in first place. And I think he was, if you look at the first half of the season, he might have been up there for MVP and number 1. I still like Jaylen Brown, what he's done. I just don't think he'll get enough votes from the league. I don't think writers are going to respect him enough. Players might, but I don't think everybody else will. So it makes it hard for me to believe he'll be in the top 3 based on that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a bit unfair because they were in a good position before Tatum got back, but I think Tatum playing the last 20 games is going to hurt him a little bit. Not to say he was going to win it or anything, but obviously, yeah. I think Detroit, it's tough. Like when you're in the first seed, like all year, it's really hard to just stay at that like high level pace. I mean, they still are number 1 in the East, so that they're playing great. But instead of like, sometimes you look at like a team that's like ascending the last 20 games and moving up the standings. So as far as Detroit, that's kind of tough because they've just been, they've been number 1. They haven't moved out of that spot. But it'll, I think it's still like, I don't know, maybe the odds will say otherwise and maybe the media will say otherwise. But I feel like these last 13, 14 games, it's still technically because of obviously the amount of games you got to play and all that, it's kind of still up in the air, in my opinion. Yeah. Like, obviously it's SGA's probably to lose, but hey, I mean, if it continues like this, if Luka plays like this and balls out, never know.
Yeah, I think, he has to continue this like streak that he's on kind of the rest of the season, and then they keep winning. Like, obviously they won 7 in a row, but they would have to have some sort of like, they're the next, 13 games. So they've won 7 in a row. You win at least another 10 out of there. So it's like 17-3 to finish the season. Right? Yeah. I think that pretty much should solidify and every game is like something like this, whereas like you see big shots, you remember he's had a game winner, like constantly getting those type of plays. Now with the MVP, I don't think he's there yet, but if you had a vote between Cade and Wemby, who would you vote for and why?
I think if we're just speaking like value, like that's a tough one. I'm gonna probably have to go with Wemby on this one. He's just had obviously like a dynamite type of season. Not taking away from anything, obviously from Cade and what's going on in Detroit, but I would have to give it to him. And that's just like that, I think his defensive presence. He's probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year. Probably.
As long as like if he doesn't miss many more games, then he's winning that for sure.
I mean, I kind of have to look at like the stats because those do matter a bit, but
I think if I'm looking at those 2 players alone, I think what San Antonio has done this year is completely remarkable because they were literally not even close to being a playoff team last year. Yep. And now they're the 2nd seed, like a lot ahead of the Lakers in the 2nd seed, right? So it's like that is a remarkable turnaround. Detroit was ascending last year. They gave the Knicks a hard playoff run and kind of came into the season. Yes, nobody expected them to be a number 1, but they were an ascending team kind of already going into the season.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's what I was thinking too. Like if we're talking about like valuable player, right? They just him and his presence, they've totally overachieved. And as you said, not only are they in 2nd, they're like fighting for the 1 seed still technically. And so I'd probably have to give the edge to him if it was between those 2, but it's obviously most likely not going to be. But for the All NBA first team, so I take it we're leaving. Who are we leaving off for that? Jaylen Brown.
Well, we said Joker, Wemby, SGA, Luka, and Jaylen Brown. So I'm leaving off
Cunningham,
Cade in the first team. And I don't think there's anybody really besides that. I mean, Jalen Brunson wouldn't be up there, in my opinion. Anthony Edwards has had a great year, but I mean, he's definitely a second team, I think.
Yeah. So 6 guys for 5 spots, really. But
yeah, I think it's really just Cade. I feel like if you replace Cade with Jaylen Brown, that would still make sense. If you replace Jaylen Brown with Cade, I think that's fair too.
Yeah. Yeah, regardless, the number 6 man, if you will be obviously leading the second team. But I get it. There's a difference between the first and the second. But no, Luka's been obviously balling out. And then obviously when you think of those moments, like you said, like those dagger threes and just the chirping, and he does it in style, so that kind of is attractive too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Obviously, the Lakers will need him to keep it up to kind of keep this engine rolling.
Yeah, I mean, they got a back-to-back tomorrow against Miami, and going to land in Miami about 4:00 in the morning. So that's going to be difficult. We're going to see if LeBron is ready to go. He had a little elbow scare, but I think that was more of a nerve thing because he kept shaking his hand. So more of like a stinger. So I don't foresee that being a real issue, but you never know. I mean, he might wake up, off the plane and his body just doesn't feel right for tomorrow. But he has played in some back-to-backs, which has always been surprising, especially being in his 23rd season.
Oh yeah, no, there's been some surprises this year when he's played back-to-back. We're like, oh shoot, he's actually playing. This one is definitely going to be a challenge. Not even just for LeBron. I mean, just in general. But hey, it's go time. Got to pick up wins. There's still 4 games on the road trip left. So they got at Miami, obviously, at Orlando, at Detroit, who we've talked about a little bit here, which is going to be super tough. And then at a tanking Indiana team. So I know that, including the Denver game, which would be like 7 games, if they can go 5-2, would be like remarkable, and so they're 3-0 so far. We'll see. Got to obviously pick up that win against Indiana, and I mean, you got to pick up wins. I mean, you can't just take losses, obviously, at this point.
Yeah, yeah. It's like if they can get through that 4-game stretch right now, and I mean, the at Orlando is going to be tough. At Miami on this back-to-back, at Detroit are going to be tough games, right? Yeah. Then you follow it up with Indiana, and they come home to Brooklyn and Washington. Which we know if we lose any of those games, we're going to go crazy. But those are obviously winnable games. But the way they're playing, man, like when you look at this team, they have a 7-game win streak. And before tonight, the Lakers are basically a top 6 defensive team in that win streak, right? So they're playing at a high level on defense, which is obviously leading to wins and success. Now, it's just, can this sustain, right? Yeah, like, can we see this over the next 13 games and then going into the playoffs? And if they can, and they can keep riding this momentum of how they're playing together. I love the article that I saw today about DeAndre Ayton, where he basically took the blame when he was talking about how he needs to get the ball. He's not part of the offense. He took the blame on it. He said, I was essentially being selfish, and I have fully bought into my role in this team, and I'm going to do everything in my power, and I hope that shows on the court. And it has, right? Like, his defense has been amazing, and that's why he's playing, he played 30 minutes today? And normally he doesn't, he's not really touching the 30s as often, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and again, for at least the 3rd straight game, he's been in there into the 4th, into crunch time. So he, ever since the Clint Capella comment, he played 34 minutes, 16 points. Yeah, so he was pretty efficient too.
If you got DeAndre Ayton giving you a solid 34 minutes and meaningful minutes, that is huge for this team. And it allows
they didn't have last year, so
they didn't have that at all. We just had literally Jackson Hayes because we traded away AD, and then you're going LeBron at the 5, Dorian Finney-Smith at the 5, Rui at the 5, and it just wasn't a feasible lineup. right? So I think this will be a huge difference going into the playoffs. Gives you a little bit more confidence against how they stack up in the West.
Yeah, they had the stretch that we talked about it, with defense last year, and I think that we've just the three big differences is I'd say Marcus Smart, LeBron having a little bit more gas in the tank to play defense, I think.
Yeah.
And then DeAndre Ayton just being a big body. I think those are three components or elements we didn't have last year, and hopefully that allows this defensive prowess as of late, like kind of to continue. So long way to go. Still got some. They play OKC a couple times, I noticed, down the stretch.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll see if the Thunder will be playing some of their guys and whatnot. They don't remember what happened last year to J-Dub, right?
Yep. So it's gonna be interesting down the stretch, but they're definitely getting some confidence together. They're galvanizing. They're getting that camaraderie that we want with the team going into the playoffs. So